nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all. It's your buddy Big Johnny G, the Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. Alright everyone, good to see you all, and welcome back to another Midday Monologue Monday. As you know by now, I'm your buddy Big Johnny G, and today, well, here in America we're gearing up for 4th of July, American Independence Day. Whatever that means to you, that's fine. I am not here to talk about politics though, but I am here to talk about games that have something to do or say about America. Yeah. So, I have some games that I own, some games that I've looked into, some things I've discovered. So I wanted to talk to you about Americana of July gaming, or something like that. All right, everyone, very cool. I will see you all down at the table. Here in America, as I said, we have the 4th of July, our Independence Day coming up, and I was wondering if there's any games that really capture the feel of Americana. Anything that covers the history of Americana. Games about the good old US of A. There's a couple I actually have in my collection. Not enough, so I went on a hunt. I went on a search to get more information for you. And I decided to present this as close to a timeline as I can. So why don't we go over some games I think are great and sort of represent America, American history, something that'll be fun for you to play in or around the 4th of July. Now let's start all the way back to the origins of America with a game called 1775, the American Revolution game. This is by Academy Games and is good for 2 to 4 players ages 10 and up and should take anywhere from 60 to 120 minutes. Now, this game is a tactical combat war game at its core, and it captures the feel, or tries to, of the Continental Army and the Patriots versus the British Army and their Royalists. A fun part of this game is the fact that just like in the real war, certain secondary and side forces were used and brought into the battle, such as the Americans getting help from the natives of the land, as well as the British hiring out Hessian mercenaries and getting help from the French army as well. And this game doesn't forget that and brings that into the actual game itself. You're not going to be able to win this game unless you get a little bit of help on your side. And ultimately what you want to do is you just want to, it's an area management control, area control game, right? At its core, it's a combat area control game. And when you do beat the forces, you get to raise your flag in that spot. And when the game is over, the Treaty of Paris is signed, and the side with the most flags is the winner. Will the colonists break out? Or will they stay under the yoke of British control? Yes, to start off with games for 4th of July and Americana, how can you not start off with 1775? Now, moving forward just a little bit in the time period, keeping in Colonial Times, we find a horror game. We find a horror game by Flying Frog Productions. And this title, A Touch of Evil. Something is creeping around the colonial countryside of America, something evil, whether it's a headless horseman, or it's a bog creature, or it's a witch, or a werewolf, or a vampire. There are a lot of options between the few, not overbearingly so, but the few expansions that they have. It gives you a lot of choices for villains, as well as a lot of choices for very, very interesting style of characters. There's a great aspect of this game concerning NPCs, certain non-player characters, the town elders, and how they are involved in the story. Whatever the story is sometimes they're traitors, sometimes they're pawns, sometimes they're just completely innocent of everything. And every game is going to be different. Different per game and different per villain that you're using. And you're never going to know who to trust and who not to trust. And that's just from the NPCs alone, which I think is a nice touch. All the factors together, this is a really fun American colonial horror game. So another game about American history is Freedom, the Underground Railroad by Academy Games. This is a cooperative pick-up and deliver game that captures the hard work it was to build up the strength of the freedom movement. You are going to be running this game, balancing out a time between freeing slaves from the South, as well as trying to earn money and backing from the North. The balance that you have to reach in this game is going to be some hard decisions at a few times of it. But that's going to reflect exactly what the time period kind of felt like. And also, you're going to have to be running away and keeping away from slave catchers that are out to, well, bring them back. This game does. It captures that American time period feel, the build-up and the during of the Civil War era here in America. And it captures it in the sense that no other game has attempted to capture it in thus far. And it is an important part of American history. And to be able to have it presented as a board game, for something to give entertainment as well as enlightenment and to teach, combines everything into a beautiful system. Now we move forward a little bit further to the 1800s. And here we see America growing. And a game that perfectly captures that is Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride is a card drafting set collection route building game of, well, building up the American railroads from scratch. You're going to be able to do some certain levels of backstabbing in this game, which I like about it, in the sense that you're going to have the opportunity to steal potential train lines away from other people, robbing them of precious victory points and sometimes causing fights around the table, I got to admit. The backstabbing in the game leads to a sort of well-balanced style of gaming. The way the game runs is actually well-balanced in this, because you have, your greed factor in this game, which you have to have to a certain level or there's no way you're ever going to win. But at the same time, you have this fear that one of these great lines that you need to finish and complete is going to get swiped right out from under you by one of the other players. So this balance of doing things because of greed and doing things because of need, and sometimes waiting and seeing what happens, causes this little bit of tension that really gets your nerves clamped into this title. And because of that, it gives to a fairly heavy strategy, although the rules of this game are quite light. It's a very easy game to teach. It's a card matching set collection style game at its core. So you could practically teach this game as you were showing it off to somebody, and always that is a plus. Great Western Trails is a game that is going to help you experience what it was to be a cattle rancher back in the 1800s, where you are going to relive taking your herd of cattle from Texas all the way to Kansas City to put on that train. Now, you have to keep your herd safe during this travel, and this is not easy. And this vexed so many of the cattle herders back in the old days, is keeping them safe from sickness, from disease, from predators, from injury. Because every head of cattle that doesn't make it to Kansas City is costing you major money. And in this game, you get to protect your herd by hiring cowboys to manage the herd as it's moving, as well as engineers to help build things that you're going to need along the way. As you navigate the dangers and the pitfalls in order to collect your money, you're going to be experiencing this feeling during the game, this feeling of immediate loss at times. You're going to look at the board and see the situation and know things are screwed for you. And in most cases, when you see that, they will be, but not every time. The elements in this game change enough during the course of the game that nothing is ever going to be written in stone. So this is a microscope on one beautiful aspect of the old days of Americana. If you want a bigger scale version, though, then we got to talk about Western Legends. This colossal game title is beautifully thought out, beautifully delivered, beautifully rendered. You're going to be playing out the lives of some of the greatest real-life Western legends in American history. Whether it's the Earp Boys, or whether it's one of the Clantons, or Jesse James, Billy the Kid, they're all there. in the core game or in one of the expansions. And you don't have to follow what they did. You can earn points. It's a sandbox game. You can earn points in so many multiple ways and just take their lives in any direction you want while still living and feeling that sensation of the old Wild West. But I mean, to me, that's the ultimate Western game right now that's on the market. So go check out Western Legends to add to your Americana gaming day. Let's move up a little bit, shall we? New York, 1901. This is a blue-orange game, and this game is going to allow you to relive the dawn of modern New York City. The building up of what we see around us in modern New York City with massive constructions that define that entire era of growth, not just for the city, but for most of the country at that time. You're going to find ways to build up the financial district in New York City, starting with smaller buildings and working your way up to some of the grandest, most well-known skyscrapers of all time. And they're going to dominate your New York skyline. This is a simple yet strategic area influence game of tile placement and city building. And the historic importance of this game is evident all around the game. This game is represents one of the most important modern era advancements of society that we had with the massive amount of construction that was going on in this country all over the place. And this game is going to not only capture it for you, but teach you a little bit about that time period as well. A great game for the 4th of July. New York, 1901. Now, also around that time period, there were some other interesting things going on in the country. A lot of them centered in New York City as well. And this game by Artana captures it very well. And that title is, simply put, Tesla versus Edison, War of Currents. If you're not familiar with the incidents, then this game recaptures the war, literally the war that was going on between inventors at that time period. Inventors was an actual job title. Newspapers reported on inventors all the time. They weren't corporate like they are now. Well, Edison certainly was. This game captures the battle and the war between the two powerhouses, between AC and DC current, and what would end up dominating America. This is a worker placement, card-driven bluffing game. And you're going to be going through the game, and you're going to be trying to balance inventing things with the engineering side of it, with the finance side of it, as well as public relations. Because remember, in this time period, inventors were like mad scientists and were in the newspaper constantly because there was no TV, there was no internet, and people found these stories to be entertaining, and they sold papers. Now, moving up a little bit further, we enter World War II. And there's a lot of great games on World War II, which could be, and others have made it its absolutely own category. There's just a couple of titles I'd like to point out here because they're relatively new within the past year, and I think that they're worth the attention. Both these titles are by Osprey Games, and the title is Undaunted. The first one that came out was Normandy, and then it was followed by North Africa. This tile-laying game of hand management, some deck building, brings to life, battle by battle, certain events that were key during World War II, especially closer to the end of the war. Not only are you going to be playing your privates and your snipers and your mortar shell guys, you're going to be playing Lieutenant Hansen. You're going to be playing Private Wills. They each have names. Both sides, the American Allied side and the German Axis side. Every card, when you lose a soldier, you're not losing just a rifleman. You're losing Corporal Dan, or whoever the card says that it is. Now, the tile placement of the game, I love, because I love tile placement games, because it's going to be different every time you play. You're going to be moving around these tiles. I almost said the board. You're going to be moving around these tiles, securing areas to acquire your goals. And hopefully, maybe, just like in real life, the Allies will win. Now, hold on. There's something else I want to talk about, because it does have to do with America. And that's the future of America. No, I'm not talking the spade of political games that have come out in the last couple of years, especially the small card games about presidencies and presidents and such like that. No, I'm talking about the future of the continent of America. And that game, that future viewing game of America, Fallen Land, a post-apocalyptic board game by Fallen Dominion Studios. This game takes place in the future after several apocalypses have happened and have left the country and the world practically a barren wasteland. And you're playing a group of survivors, and your group sends out a team of 5 individuals to go for various missions and quests and to do things, acquire resources, new land, take out enemies, find gear. Whatever it is, this sandbox game will deliver to you with these really strong, fun, well thought out story cards. Pretty much every encounter card you're going to get is a self-contained story and how you're going to deal with it. It's the future, but it is America. So if you're looking for some board games to express your love of Americana on the 4th of July and Independence Day, those are some suggestions that I have that will make you think of America. Are there any particular games about America that you know that weren't on this list and you wish were? What would be on your list? Put it down in the comment, let me and everyone else know, so hopefully we'll get a chance to experience a new game thanks to you. I'm your buddy Big Giant G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming, and my friends, I am out of here.